Randy, what's your whole name?
Randy.
Is it Randolph?
No, Randall. Randy. R-A-N-D-Y.
Huh?
W.
What is the W?
William.
Littlejohn. When were you born?
18 August 60.
Now I'll give you something here you can keep with your stuff. Just keep that with your stuff, and 100 years from now, your folks or your descendants will find that, and they'll know that you're on tape number 10. And go to the library and check you out.
Okay, that'll be good.
Randy, you told me your name, Randy Littlejohn, and your date of birth, and today we're just talking about your history and as a veteran. But I also like to get a genealogical line, because I know that many people are interested in that sort of thing. And 100 years from now, your descendants may want to know some things about that. But tell me now where you were born.
In Ironton, Ohio.
Ironton, Ohio. What is your present address?
658 Township Road, 274N, Kids Hill, Ohio.
Okay. And Kids Hill, Ohio. And what is your occupation?
I'm a disabled veterans outreach specialist for the Ohio Bureau of Employment Services.
And just for those watching, in fact, we are recording this now at your place of work here in Portsmouth, Ohio. And this is the Ohio Bureau of Employment Services. And what is the address of this place?
724 Finley Street.
Okay. How much education do you have? 14 years. Okay. And are you married, single, divorced, widowed, separated, all the above, or what's the deal?
Married. Got one child and one on the way.
Okay, great. Now, let me ask you about your children. What is your child's name?
Raymond David Littlejohn.
Okay. And how old is Raymond?
He is he'll be 3 years old in 3 months.
Now, you say your wife has one on the way. Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
It's a girl.
Do you have a name picked out yet?
Lauren Elizabeth.
Okay. And when do you expect her to arrive in this world?
About April 20th.
Okay. Now, of course, you don't. And how old are you then? You would be
39.
39. Okay, born in 1960. Let me ask you this. What are your parents' names?
George Raymond Littlejohn and Wanda Jean Owens Littlejohn.
Okay. And that was the next question I was going to ask you. Her maiden name is Owens. Your mother's maiden name is Owens. Okay. O-W-E-N-S.
Right.
Now, what are the names of your father's parents?
Jake Littlejohn and Pearl Littlejohn.
Do you know her maiden name? Pearl's maiden name?
I don't.
Okay. Now, as far as your mother's parents' names, what are their names?
Bill, that's William Owens, and my grandmother died when I was just a baby. I'm trying to think. Bertha Owens, and her maiden name was Martin.
Martin. Okay, very good. Now, were they all from Lawrence County, Kids Hill area? Or okay. Now, you have what's your wife's name? Denise. What are her parents' names? Do you know?
Dee McIntyre, and her stepfather's name is Harry McIntyre.
Now, let me ask you about your service time. Were you in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, or what?
Air Force.
Air Force. Did you enlist? Were you drafted? What was the deal?
I enlisted.
Okay. And when did you go in? When did you enlist?
The 31st of October in 1978.
And when were you discharged?
The 1st of November, 1998.
Okay. And what was your rank when you were discharged?
Master Sergeant E7.
Okay. Now, you were in the Air Force. What was your MOS, Military Occupational Specialist?
I started out as an administrative specialist in the Air Force. That would have been a 702, 70. Right? But 4 years after I enlisted, I went into recruiting. I spent 16 years in recruiting. 16
years as a recruiter. Did you travel around the United States a great deal?
Not much. I homesteaded a lot. I was stationed first off at Grissom Air Force Base in Indiana.
But where did you do your basic?
At Lackland Air Force Base in San
Antonio, Texas. Then did you do something that we call we call it AIT in the Army. What did they call it?
Just technical school.
Okay. And after your basic, what did you do?
That was at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay. And what were you trained there as?
As administrative specialist.
Okay. Now you were going to tell me something about
my assignments. Grissom Air Force Base in Indiana. There I worked as, checking my memory here, I started out working in the 1915 Communications Squadron, and I was the administrative specialist there in the operations branch, and that was where we had the communications center, the switchboard, and all that kind of stuff. From there, I moved over to air traffic control. And then from there, I moved to the base commander's office as his special aide. And from there, I had a permanent change of station to George Air Force Base in California. There I worked started out in the command post for the 831st Air Division. And then I moved to the 562nd Fighter Squadron. And then ultimately went to the 561st Fighter Squadron.
Was that also in California?
It was all at George Air Force.
All at George. Okay.
While I was there, I was neighbors with Roy Rogers.
Is that right?
Him and Dale lived just a few houses down from me.
Okay.
In Apple Valley.
Well, Trigger was stuff at that time, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Saw him in the museum out there.
Right.
From George, I went into recruiting and was stationed at Columbus, Ohio, as a non-prior service recruiter. Worked in the high schools, that kind of thing. From there, I was selected to work at the processing station. The older folks may remember it as AVs, the Armed Forces Examination and Entry Station, I think is what it was.
Oh, on Indianola Avenue?
Right.
Okay. That's where everybody first comes to take their physical and all that business.
Yes. I was a counselor there. From there, I was selected to be a medical recruiter. I worked out of Ohio State University hospitals.
What did you recruit? Personnel for the medical area of the Air Force? Doctors, nurses, dentists, veterinarians, any kind of health science individuals. My area was pretty large with that. I covered all the way down to Charleston, West Virginia, and beyond, actually. I had a couple of hospitals down further into West Virginia, and then all the way down to Southern Ohio and east to Dayton. Okay, interesting. Traveling there. Well, how do you get a doctor to join? Be very persuasive. Well, what are some of the tricks of the trade? Well, I don't know if there's a trick of the trade as much as you have to find a need and show the individual that they have a need and that you can fill that need. If you can do that, we call that need satisfaction selling. If you can do that, I had a doctor give up a private practice. Really? Let all his staff go, sold the building and everything to go in the Air Force. Been in private practice for 23 years. And had gotten fed up with
malpractice insurance and computers and just all the newfangled stuff. He wanted to just practice medicine and not have to worry about all that.
How did you contact him in the first place? Did he make the initial contact, or did you?
I did. I sent him a card off of a mailing list that we had purchased, and he responded to the card.
Okay. But did you also have a program where you would send people to medical school, and then, of course, they pay for their medical school, and then, of course, they would pay you back with time?
Health Profession Scholarship Program.
Okay.
HPSP as it's called. I put a bunch of people in medical school all around the country. Actually, they didn't have to go right there at Ohio State. So that was a real easy program to sell.
When you go in, you also said earlier that you were involved in going into high schools. What kind of reception did you get there?
It was pretty good. Back in the early 80s, the feeling about the military wasn't too bad. And it was, you still had people that still wanted to serve their country. So, I was well received anywhere I went.
Good. Now, did you go overseas?
Never. Just took a free ride with the Guard, the National Guard.
What was that about?
I went to the Virgin Islands.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it was got on a bumpy old C-130 and rode it down to the Virgin Islands and played for a weekend and come back on Monday.
Okay. Now, do you, what was the best thing? Let me ask you this. What would be the best thing that's ever happened to you in the service?
Well, it's tough because there's been, I'm not one that saw any combat or anything like that, so I don't have, the big, real interesting stories to tell. But when I was stationed in Nashville, which was after Columbus, I worked in advertising, marketing, and I covered about a 7-state area.
You're still in the Air Force now. You're stationed in Nashville, okay.
And still in recruiting, working at the recruiting squadron headquarters. And I had the opportunity to work with a lot of country music stars.
Oh, really?
I've got a picture of Martina McBride on my wall at home where she signed it for me while I was interviewing her.
Did you get her to join?
Yeah. Okay. No. She had much bigger and better things going on. But I played softball with Faith Hill and Tim McGraw and Shania Twain. Those are big names right now. I don't know what they'll be.
Nobody will know about them
100 years from now. But there was a lot of the stars I got to work with. So that was a big time for me. I was able to produce a CD set, syndicated radio program for all across the country and around the world, really. We have several stations overseas that played it. And
country music?
It was called Country Music Time, and the Air Force produced it. I interviewed the country music stars, played their music on it. We recorded all that on the CD.
Oh, that's great.
Gave radio stations a couple hours of pre-programmed music that they could play. So that was a big event for me. Probably another one was when I was in California, I got an incentive ride in an F4. And my dad was there to strap me in. He helped the crew chief. He climbed up the ladder and helped actually strap me in.
Now, was he Air Force?
No.
Was he? Okay, but he strapped you in.
He was able to strap me in, yeah. Now, Dad wasn't able to serve. He only had one eye.
Oh, I see.
So, he wasn't able to serve.
Well, but he's glad he strapped you in.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was a wild ride.
Oh, man, I bet. Well, now, getting back to recruiting here, while you were talking, I thought of a question to ask you. What would you consider to be your greatest coup? I mean, getting somebody to join a particular group like bikers that you got to join or something. I mean, I'm just thinking, you get your ordinary recruit in, a guy in high school or something like that, but do you take any particular pride or achievement in getting any particular person or something to join? I would imagine the doctor was going to.
That was a big one, and I put several doctors in. He was only one of many. Probably when you see, and I'll put something here for history that people will go, they worked for that. He gave up a practice where he was making, he was grossing, I think it was $420,000 a year. Now, out of that he had to pay his staff and all that kind of stuff. And it came down to the bottom line, he was making somewhere around 145 to 150 a year. We put him in the Air Force, or I put him in the Air Force, making about $80,000 a year. So he took almost a half pay cut just to go in. And his story was that he had always wanted to serve his country and never had the opportunity because he went to medical school, college medical school, and right into practice, and it just never presented itself. And finally, he said, one day I was watching TV and there was some kind of patriotic theme on TV, and he said, if I'm ever going to give back to this country what it's given to me, I got to do it now. And then it was a twist of fate. I sent him the card that very next week, and he called me. So that was, those are some big, maybe not accomplishments, but it made me feel like I'd done something. Not only for the doctor, the individual, but for my Air Force and my country.
Did you ever have experiences where you go, hang out in the courthouse, wait for the kids to come out of juvenile court?
No.
You never had that?
The Air Force had pretty strict rules on, any kind of law violations. They had to be very minor. We're talking traffic, stuff like that. Any misdemeanors or anything like that could just disqualify. So we went for the ones that hadn't been in trouble.
Okay. Do you keep in touch with any of your friends that you made during the service period of time?
Yeah. One person in particular, we were stationed together in California, and every year we get together. He lives down in Georgia now. He got out of the Air Force, and either we go down there or they come up here, and we get together at least once a year and visit for usually 3 or 4 days.
Along the lines of what I asked you before, the best thing, what's the worst thing that ever happened to you?
The worst thing? Well, let's see. The worst thing was probably in the line of work I was in recruiting. It left me very little time for family because I worked generally 14 to 18 hours a day. And so I've been married and divorced twice. And a lot of that was attributable to recruiting.
Do you have children for those marriages?
No.
Do you have anything else you'd like to say to the people watching this 100 years from now? Do you have any tattoos you want to talk about or anything?
I lost my belly button to the Air Force. I'm not going to go into that.
I'm going to take the other.
They'll be wondering, how'd you do that? If 100 years from now there's still an Air Force, still a military, and if the decisions have been properly made and there's still a flag flying over the United States, I just pray that the people watching this can dig. They may have to dig deep. And I may be wrong. They may have more patriotism than what we've got. But they need to remember what's happened in the last 100 years in this country. And don't forget the vets that have given them what they have right now.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it very much.
Okay.